Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, lovely Amu. How are you?
I am great. And how are you, Charmaine?
I am very well, thank you, Amu.
You are looking so beautiful today. I love that necklace. And
Oh,
I've been
thank
seeing you
you.
on all these sessions, and it's been so fun to watch you. So I'm just happy that I'm here. So I'm just going to quickly introduce the session to everybody. We're having the next session called Beating the Budget Blues. It's going to be all about financial planning and planning your wedding and staying under budget, which a lot of couples actually struggle to do. So before we go ahead, I'm going to first introduce the moderator of our session, Charmaine Fivis. Establishing a well-known brand over 16 years in the South African wedding and events market. Under Charmaine's leadership, Tentworks has been awarded many prestigious awards, contracts, like the CFO Awards, Infrastructure, Supply, Chroma Music Awards, a red carpet event, then a Wonk Music Awards at the gala dinner, Afrikaans is Groot Music Show, VIP area. So Charmaine Fivers is an event professional since 2008. She's got a vast experience in planning luxury weddings and, more importantly, being the supplier of bespoke event infrastructure to the events industry. So Charmaine, welcome to the show. I'm honored to have you as our partner as well. And I'm going to let you take over the stage while the panelists join.
Thank you, Amu.
Charmaine and
Hello.
Charmaine.
Hello,
Hello.
Johan. In Charmaine.
Hello.
Hello.
I'm going to be talking to myself the whole time. Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to introduce you to Johan Ungerer from Johan Ungerer Signature Events and Weddings. And also in this panel discussion with us this afternoon, we have Charmaine Banks from the Moore Family Concierge. So maybe you guys quickly want to just introduce yourselves to the audience. One minute, just tell the audience a little bit about yourself. John, you can go. You start right off the screen. Ladies first.
Oh,
Ladies first. Charmaine, you go first.
Thank you. Yeah, Charmaine, yes, it does feel weird speaking to yourself, hey? More Family Collection is a family business that started 20 years ago with one private game lodge called Lion Sands Game Reserve. And over the years, the family has managed to develop into 8 lodges, 2 hotels in Cape Town, and a boutique hotel in Victoria Falls, Zimbabwe.
Fantastic! Wow. Okay, I'm definitely going to come and visit you guys one of these days. I'm going to book in there, Charmaine, for sure. Are you coming with, John?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Indeed. Okay, Johan. A little bit about Johan Ungerer. Sorry, I've been talking a lot today. My tongue is like just rolling. So a little bit about you, Johan.
Well, Charmaine, well, Johan Ungerer Signature Events, weddings, PR, marketing, cosmetics. We obviously do weddings, we do events, we've got the cosmetic side, we've got the modeling competition. I think literally it's a one-stop shop, with regards to for our clients and so on. And we definitely make sure, as you know, it's in the details. And
yes, it's
just smaller little things, that people pick up. And that's basically us in a nutshell.
Fantastic, Johan. Okay, well, you know what? We've actually got, I think, the most dreadful topic of the day, because who wants to talk about money? But it's a hard subject. We have to talk about it. So let's get right to it. Your budget is the most important factor of getting married. You have to start with a budget. What are the main things that you can tell the audience, give them advice, what they need to keep in mind? Charmaine, you want to go first? We stick with the ladies first story.
Oh, brilliant.
Or we will do age before beauty. Then Johan can go first.
Absolutely.
Yo.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm not
sorry.
getting
Go to
involved.
start, Charmaine.
That dreaded question, the budget.
The budget.
I think for us personally, it really depends on how many guests would you want to have participate in this memorable event. From a destination point of view, destination wedding point of view, we can cater from very small, intimate weddings of 10 people right up to 100 people. And I think that's going to obviously depict how much money you want to spend. Also, the type of wedding. Do you want one night together and make use of your husband's expertise and have a glitzy ball? Or do you think of toning it down and spending maybe a longer time, say 2 nights somewhere in the bush? So it's very dependent on the personal taste of the bride and groom and what they ultimately want.
Most definitely. Johan, have you got anything to add to that? What do you say? What points do you need to keep in mind?
No, definitely. I mean, I think it's one thing that definitely stands out for me, especially after this past, year and so on, and seeing brides and grooms planning their weddings, going forward. It's guest list. I think people tend to forget when you plan a wedding, each and every, I mean, Charmaine, you would obviously know, and Charmaine, also there. I think it's each and every napkin, each and every knife, serviette, glass, chair, each and every item. I mean, the menu that you print, I mean, the thank you cards, the gifts, each and everything costs money. And if you can't make a wedding, just be upfront and say, I mean, especially when you receive the save the date, automatically just say, no, I can't attend. Don't say, yes, you'll try and this and that. Because remember, us as weddings coordinators and so on, we plan accordingly. And with us planning accordingly, the budget gets blown. So the bride and the groom, they're the ones at the end of the day that's going to bear the brunt. So I think people need to take that into account. Each and every seat at your wedding costs you money. So make sure that the people that you invite are people that's going to be there. Definitely make sure the people and the guests that you invite are people that you're going to see after the wedding. Because we've heard so many stories that, yes, there's weddings of 100, 200, 300, 400 people. But I mean, you actually only chat to 50 of those people. So, that's just my opinion that we see all the time.
Yeah, and I also think things that they need to keep in mind is that all those little unforeseen expenses that they didn't think of like up front. I mean, a simple thing, the knife to cut your cake with, that you want it to be something special, so many times that's something that just gets rushed off and someone has to run to get a knife to cut the cake, but I mean, if you really want something, and that's details, that those little details are the things that actually cost money. I mean, that's just a simple example. All those little personal touches are things that you don't normally think of up front, and then at the end you realize, oh, but I need this, or I want that, or I actually wanted this, and then you haven't budgeted for that, and then then you run out of budget. So it becomes, and at venues as well, and not all venues, and Charmaine, I don't know your venue policy at all, but so I'm not, many venues are not 100%, you don't get all the costs. So many times I hear, brides that said, no, they're getting married, and then they realize, but this is the venue price, but they actually still have to pay this and that. So it's very important to make sure that you read the terms and conditions of the venue that you book, that you know what is included in that price, and what are you responsible for on top of that price that you are actually paying. Charmaine, maybe you can elaborate a little bit more on that, because I mean, you come from that background, you will know more about this than I do.
100%. Communicate with the actual venue and find out what is their standard wedding package. You find that a lot of people are offering, this is your package, But all those little things that Johannes just mentioned, 90% of the time it's not included. So if I look at our own logistics, we have smaller lodges that can take up to 30 people. We have standard wedding offerings, which is inclusive of the accommodation and everybody's food, and then the grand central event. But it's minimalistic with regards to you will get 1-tier wedding cake instead of a 3-tier. You do have your wedding coordinator, but if you want to elaborate and you want to put a marquee up and have chandeliers, you need to bring in a wedding planner to assist you. We have got hairdressers that could be included in the package, but if you want your own hairdresser, take that into consideration of bringing that person up to the lodge, having the accommodation for them. So yes, there's a lot of dynamics to be very aware of. If you just want to keep it simple, then go with a venue's product offering and have a simple ceremony with neutral colors. And if you're quite happy with that, everything is flexible.
Most definitely. I think you're 100% right there. So on average, in your opinion, I mean, it's actually, and I dread this question because the answer is so wide. It's dependent on so many things. On average, what would you say is a reasonable budget amount for a wedding of 100 people?
For me, it's quite simple. If you take our bigger properties, so that's the Lion Sands Game Reserve, we have 4 lodges that are split by the Sabi River. So each lodge, obviously, we have one lodge that caters for 18 people, etc. But if we take all the lodges together, you're looking at about 100 people. And then if you work on a one-night stay, that entire event, including of your food and the actual ceremony and the minister and the wedding cake and the table decor, you can look at something of about 600,000 Rand. So if you take all that into consideration and what you get, you're spending more time with your guests. It's not just a one evening event. You're spending 2 good days. And the guests can also participate in some leisure activities. If they want to go on a bushwalk or a game drive, they're able to do so. So I think that's sort of a good benchmark to work around.
Okay, so that's now for a weekend celebration type wedding. I can almost, a weekend celebration type wedding. I can almost say.
Exactly, which I refer to as a destination wedding rather than an event.
Yeah. And Johan, from your experience, I mean, we work more with the once-off event day wedding on the day.
Yeah.
So what is your feel for a wedding for a day?
So I would say it's around 200 to 250,000 Rand, just depending on what the venue offers, what the expertise from the bride and the groom are, and at the end of the day, if you've got budget for JC Leroux on your tables, but you would love Mouet, different story, so it just basically depends on what they would like, but it all boils down to it's our job to assist them and help them and guide them with better options and so on.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think, coming from our perspective, I mean, we do outdoor events, in marquee tents and so forth. And many times people have got a complete misconception of the cost. So when I get asked that question of how much is a wedding for 100 people going to cost, it's almost impossible for me to answer because it can vary literally from 50,000 Rand to 1 million Rand for one day. It all depends of what goes into that wedding. I mean, you can have a DIY wedding in a marquee tent, and it will probably cost you 50,000 Rand, but then all the stress and everything is on you. Or we can do you a luxurious marquee wedding, with the glass tent, the chandeliers, the glass flooring, all the bells and whistles with, suspended flowers and so forth and so forth. And then, it can even go way over 1 million Rand. So it all depends on what you want, basically, when it comes to outdoor weddings. Yes, and then like you said, I think a average wedding or more top end wedding for 100 people is about 250,000 for the day. And then a destination wedding, like if you go to a lodge, I mean, Charmaine, but that will not include things like or things like the traveling cost to the venue. That's still separate from
No,
that.
Yeah, that's
correct. No.
separate.
And
Yeah,
I want to refer to Johan's very initial point and look at the guests. So make sure the
yeah,
guests who are coming mean something to you. And you'll
yes,
find that it's quite acceptable for a guest to be asked to do their own travel arrangements, fly up, at their own cost. People are quite willing to do that.
yes,
So
especially.
yes, it all stems back to who do you have celebrating that special day with you?
Most definitely. I think that's very to you are spending that money, so spend it on the people that mean something to you. You
Correct.
know that's close to your heart. The, the the uncle that you haven't seen in 5 years. I mean, really, do you really want to spend
No.
5,000 rand on him for a day? Why? You know, I mean, really, that's so
It
true.
had to be the uncle, the arme oom.
I mean, why? So, okay. So then blowing the budget. Now what? Now what? Now what? I mean, it's actually now
Charmaine,
what?
ladies first.
I'm going to, from our perspective, I'm going to zone straight back into that guest list. Cut that Wimmy out your guest list, please. Please. Keep it simple.
Yeah.
Yes, now you've blown the budget. I honestly revisit what you're getting, revisit the value. From our perspective, do you really want 80 people? You can bring it down to 30 people, and that can bring the cost down to below 100,000 rand, but you're still getting
Yeah.
exactly the same services.
Yes.
Reevaluate and see what is it value to you, i.e. the groom
Mm.
and the bride. It's your day
Yes.
at the end of the day.
Yes. And I think this is exactly where the point comes in from. If you don't have enough budget to do what you want to do, then cut your numbers. Because I think in the end of the day, the memories is more important. The memories that you make for yourself and your groom is more important than the memories you make for your guests. They're going to have a nice party. They're going to have lovely food. They're going to enjoy it. But in 10 years' time, it was just another wedding. But for you, it will always be your special day. So I think it's very important to say that. We've got a question here from Lenise. She says, some venues have the standpoint that they will accommodate any budget. What is your view on this? I think that's for you, Charmaine.
I will be rather hesitant if I go to a lodge, luxury lodge, and all of a sudden they say, oh, now I'll fit within your budget. Because how is that going to impact on the service deliverance? Does it mean that you're going to give me a quiche for lunch, or does it mean I'm going to have a 3-course meal? So I'd be quite wary because you are paying for the service and you sort of expect for that amount of money, it should include everything.
Yes, and again, this is now where the fine print, people need to make sure that they read the fine print, because and that goes for any supplier. If they say they'll fit into your budget, I think it's actually a very bold thing to say, because how do you even know what this person is expecting? You can't, so you can't really. But I guess you do get there's many people in this industry that and I mean, we can't pinpoint people, but we are in the industry and we know there's people that don't offer services that's up to standard, and that do actually not deliver what they say they're going to deliver, and then they try to get clients in different ways. So yes, if it's there's a saying that says if it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So yeah, so yes, so Ladies, I hope that answers your question.
And Charmaine, especially, I mean, if you take into account, the right suppliers. I mean, especially nowadays, Lord knows we've heard so many things, over the past 12 months, especially pre-COVID and, during COVID and now obviously going out of COVID, hopefully. It's one of those things where deposits and this and no contracts and all of those things. And it's a thing where, this whole discussion is about saving budget and about not losing money. And I think it's more important than ever to, when it comes to a venue, when it comes to a supplier, or whoever that's part of your big day, make sure that they are legit. Make sure, especially like you said, Charmaine, if they say, listen, you're going to get, a glass, marquee or tent or this or that, then it is up to standard and it's phenomenal quality, because we've seen so many things where people just pay deposits because, it's a quick deal and it's too good to be true. Then people fall for these things. And,
Yeah. So where can brides and grooms get help to draw up a budget? Where is a good place for them to start looking for assistance?
The wedding planner.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to say, Johan, you go first.
Yes.
I would say a wedding planner, wedding coordinator, definitely, find somebody that's gonna assist you.
Yes.
100%. Charmaine, it is so important. I mean, for me, I'm busy with a wedding for closer to the end of the year, and the couple, it's one of those things where, whether we use all of the budget, then we do because there's a budget. But it doesn't mean at times that, listen, yes, you do have a budget that you need to use all of the budget. So I think be open, assist them, and guide them, because we know a lot of people have, a beer budget with a champagne taste, and that's just the reality of life. It really is, but I think we just need to be honest and fair and, sit down with them and give them options and,
Yes. Yeah, and it's also, it's very nice, and I think very important for brides and grooms is to, before they even approach the first supplier for their wedding, they must draw up a budget themselves, because so many times you get into that first consultation with a bride, and yes, it's exactly what you're saying. They Pinterest and they want the moon and the stars and the sun if they can have it, but they've got absolutely no idea what things cost. So, because they see and they're bombarded with these absolutely stunning pictures in social media, but then and they think it's so in their face, it can't be that expensive because look, everyone's having it. But what they don't realize is that these pictures are not necessarily from our market, or it's a very niche market that actually does that type of thing, and the overseas market is something completely different to our market when it comes to weddings. I mean, and I don't know how ethical this is, but I had a session earlier with Tim Bolter from the UK, and I mean, these guys are just on a completely different level to us. I mean, they talk about weddings where they do 50 interlinked trucks full of flowers for an event, for one single event. That's just amazing.
So when we moving?
Mind blowing. Sorry?
When we moving?
I said exactly the same thing. We're in the wrong country by far. But yes, so I mean, and I think it's very important that the brides and group actually start at the point with, okay, we want to spend 100,000 rand on our wedding, or we want to spend 200,000 or 300,000 or 400,000, and then go with that in mind, and then you go with what you can get in that, Yes. So anything else on that you guys would like to add to the audience, maybe?
I'd like to ask people to be very open-minded and really rely on these people who have done weddings so often. They do have the experience on the ground. And yes, we also see sometimes almost like a living up to the Joneses scenario. So you'll have a bunch of girls all of a sudden getting married, and they go to their friends, and their friends have done it in this manner. And it's almost like blinkers. They just want it in the same way. But they don't understand that you could present hypothetically a table, a decor, in very impactful way, but at a much cheaper cost. And it's the people that have done these weddings, because they have a vast array of experience and seen how you can cut corners to that fit.
Most definitely, yes. There's definitely tricks to the trade, but that is exactly why you pay. That's exactly why you pay for a wedding planner, because you don't know these tricks to the trade, and they do. They've got the experience, and that's why it's always, like Johan rightfully said, it's the best place to start is with a wedding planner, because they will not only negotiate better prices for you, or take, they already know who's got what to offer, and then they can match you up with your budget, with how's the right way to put it now. They can match you up with the right supplier within your budget, and not show you champagne and you can actually only afford beer. That type of scenario.
And some reliability with the suppliers. I mean, you know what, we obviously, I mean, put it this way, let's use you as an example, Charmaine. I mean, so for example, I've got a wedding next week. I call you. I mean, you're going to be there a day prior to the wedding. You'll be there a week before the wedding, because there's that relationship that you know that you will not let people down. And I think that is more important than anything nowadays.
Exactly. Reliability is also very, very important.
Of suppliers,
Yeah. Okay, so guys, we need to wrap it up, and I see we've only done like half the questions, but anyway, let's. I think I talk too much. So a pitfall for brides and groups. They spent all this money now on a wedding, and or some of them even goes into debt. They actually take out a loan to do it. What is the dangers of starting your married life in debt? Is that advisable at all?
No.
Very short and sweet answer. No. So audience, please listen. No. So there you have it.
Charmaine, audience? No.
Ask yourself why. Why do you want to put yourself into debt? Is it for yourself, or is it pleasing your guest? Do you want your guest to walk away and go, that is the best wedding I've ever been to? But all they remember, quite honestly, the Moët champagne and the canapes. So ask yourself why. Why am I going to become and fall into debt for this event? And honestly, we all slightly older and more wisdom behind our belt. Once you start in debt, you're setting a trend for your marriage moving forward.
Yeah. 100%.
So make this your test number one, and you can manage it by not getting into that trap.
Most definitely. Okay, well, guys and girls, we have to wrap up. Unfortunately, our time is up.
Seriously?
He wants to stay here the whole day.
What's that all about?
Anyways, but thank you so much for your insights and your tips. And I'm sure the audience definitely got some great tips there and food for thought. So thank you very much for your time, and we'll chat soon again. Thank you, Charmaine.
Thank you, Charmaine.
Bye.
Thank you, Charmaine.